Functional Friday, take 2. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Okay,
I finally get to be on one of these.
So this is the funny thing. And to bring you up to speed, when we tried doing this at 10:30 on our typical scheduled Functional Friday, Greg was at his house. I was here. I was having internet issues earlier. Got that all figured out right in time. And then he's at home. And obviously, if you saw it, it froze up. Yeah. However, the funniest part was that I called him to let him know, and he had still been talking on the interview. It would have been a poor interview. So now that I have recoached him. I wonder
why you had comments.
I know. Now I have coached him into being a little bit more contained in his answers. We're going to try this a second time. So Functional Friday is all about typically having a functional medicine doctor on and we've also done some inspiring stories, but I think there is a value to understanding why it is that we have focused on this and the magic in the kitchen. You just sat down with Jeanette from
St.
Louis Magazine, and he sounds so smart when somebody else interviews him. So we'll see how this goes today. So welcome. Okay, so my first question for you is.
Hi, Becky.
Hi.
How are you? Good to meet you.
How are you? Yeah. I feel like I have something in my notes. Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to education. Way back in the day. What was you went to college?
Went to college to be an English teacher. Decided that was not the best path for me. Enjoyed cooking, had cooked at a pizza place to pay for some bills. Decided I wanted to get into the restaurant world. Moved to Florida, went to Florida Culinary, West Palm Beach. This would have been
25 years ago.
23 years ago? No. Like 23 years ago, I guess. Anyway, went to what now is a vocational culinary school. It actually closed last year finally. Very practical, very hands-on. It was an associate's degree program. It was strange because I went from having an undergrad degree and looking to be an English teacher, and then all of a sudden I was in this vocational program. I was a little bit out of my element, I guess.
And you always mentioned this was pre.
I think Food TV launched maybe about that year, and maybe it's a year older or so, but it had to have been very, very new because they were doing like a countrywide tour or whatever. And I remember a lot of us went and did like prep for one of their live shows or whatever, because they don't cook shit on those.
So we were taught, but so when you went to culinary school, what was your vision of what it was that you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you envision owning?
Jacques Pepin, the frugal gourmet. I wanted to have mad skills. And
really?
Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, he doesn't actually even have to do anything. You just know that. You just know he's a stud. There's a few of them out there. I hate most of the ones people will be familiar with they're just flashy, bam sort of crap, or whatever, Guy Fieri. Oh, geez.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
So you went to culinary school, and then right out of culinary school, then.
Well, I was still actually finishing school. My wife was a office manager for what would now be considered a functional medicine chiropractor or doctor. He did a lot of homeopathy, kinesiology, muscle testing, alternative diets. He studied with Deepak Chopra, Barry Sears of Zone Diet. Did Eat Right for Your Blood Type was a diet that had just come out. A lot of it was basically trying to figure out what were triggers that were inflammations and food allergies. And everybody remember this sort of Facebook, Google, all that, nothing like that existed. So it really was very, very different finding information and even being connected.
What was one of the most challenging food components that you needed to try and duplicate?
Still the infamous Kentucky Fried Chicken biscuit. Egg-free, dairy-free, wheat-free. At the time, it was just wheat-free biscuits. are challenging. Now I can do them because I've had a little bit more of a learning curve.
So you went to, how long did you do that for?
Oh, I was a private chef for some of his clients. Probably about 2 years, I guess. Also opened a small cafe that I kind of did the private cooking out of. That was in a cultural arts center. So I kind of had my hands in the ownership, own kitchen thing from an early time. And I had done a couple little restaurants and small catering and private chef work as well.
But you went right into your own business pretty early on in the game.
Yeah, I don't play well.
Okay.
I'm an ass.
What did you love the most in those years?
Really had a lot of flexibility. They were very understanding about the food. Everything was new at that time. I wasn't jaded and bitter. It was still creative and exploring. It was fun.
Explain what, when you say blood-based diet.
Blood-based. So this was one, and I think it's still out there. It's called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. It basically, the premise is that we are all genetically predisposed to what is best and worse for us to eat based on our blood type, which basically falls into various areas of the populations of the world. That, certain tribes or groups of people all tend to have very similar blood types because their ancestry comes from certain parts of the world. And what I was going to say is what I'm learning today, talking to many of the functional medicine doctors out there, is that now many of them are wanting you to go through the DNA gene testing to find the same thing. It's just another tool. So I know not to really be negative about anything, but there's so much that we do now that is I was doing it 20-something years ago. And even the diets, they're nuanced and there's slight differences and deviations, but the core of them are all very, very similar. This is the reason that I wanted to bring Greg on to ask some of these questions, is because as you've been watching some of our Functional Friday interviews, the reason that we're doing it is because it's education on your health. But what we're identifying is that there is a constant same message, and that comes down to gut health. Yeah. And what you eat determines your health. So that's kind of where we've came into play, and why I say you're really the secret recipe in everything. It's not that we have a secret recipe for anything that we do. No, I've had a very unique exposure to not only education, but food business, and then the diets, because it's always carried with me, even from that very first job, just carried through with everything that I've done, finding out how to do certain things in certain ways by either eliminating or reducing the certain aspects of the dish. And what we've said all the time is that when we opened up the doors here at SymBowl, or back in the day, it was the hot pot. This was not the direction, this was not the vision for what we were going to be doing. We were just going to be a small little coffee shop, and had food here. Make a few smoothies. Right. And we recognized and realized that the food menu has never really changed. No, it's very, very, very similar. At all. In fact, most everything is what it was when we first opened up the doors. The only thing that's maybe changed a little bit is the recipes have tweaked. Well, bone broth disappeared for a while because none of you wanted to eat it 6 years ago. But now all of a sudden can't make enough. Yeah. Which is fine, but it is funny how things come around like that. So what do you find today to be the most challenging thing to make, or request that you've had? Oh, the most challenging? The most challenging. What, like, somebody has came to you and said, can you make this not using this, or this? What's been the most challenging? Still working on cheese without dairy. I don't know. Can you really replace cheese? No, not really. But something that would, and I don't actually like making fake food, like the tofurkey or all that sort of the fake hot dog. That I really don't like that. But
flavor components.
Flavor wise,
some of the things that you have created. What are some of those?
The challenging ones. I mean, really, there isn't. I mean, there are certain things that you just simply can't, like soy sauce. We use Bragg's amino acids, and it's similar, but it's not soy sauce.
The no tomato pasta sauce, the no tomato barbecue sauce.
Those actually are, in some respects, a lot easier. There are certain flavors out there that are just so unique that they're hard to do. It's like gluten. I mean, you can have all sorts of different pizza crusts, but it's not, without wheat, it's not going to be that ooey chewy like.
No, but there have been some good.
But you can't.
But you don't know what all is in it in addition to.
Oh yeah, well, the chemical shitstorms. Yeah, but you can't. I mean, that chewy hand toss like Dewey's Pizza, they're somewhat national around here.
They're so good.
You cannot get that texture without wheat.
Okay, so let's talk about gluten, because in this interview that you did upstairs, I think that you explained why is it bad or why is it not bad for you?
It's not bad for you. Gluten is not the devil. However, it triggers things if you are in a compromised position. I don't want to say it's not the devil. There are people that definitely have issues with it. It's not like it's gluten's fault. Gluten is doing what gluten's supposed to be doing. It's, those two proteins, they mesh together, they kind of stick together, and they, that's get very elastic, and they don't like to get separated once you mix them together. That's really the problem. So all the things that we like about gluten, if you're compromised, if you're not breaking down things properly, if your gut has, deterioration or inflammation, that's the problem. Usually it's not the gluten that's doing it. There's been something else going on. Gluten just happens by its very nature to be the perfect bad thing to be eating.
Well, but when we were talking about it earlier, we were talking about the overconsumption of it and what it does to the gut.
Well, it's not so much the gut. Is actually what happens is, so gluten has two different molecules, or whatever you want to call them, two proteins that merge together, and then they kind of keep stretching together. That's so, like, if you mix it, it's real tight, and then you have yeast, and it kind of forms these little balloons, but it never pops. That's because it's stuck together, kind of Velcro-ish. It goes into your body, and if you're not able to properly break those molecules apart into single units, they stick together, and if you're compromised, those go through your small intestine and into your bloodstream. But your bloodstream and your body is designed really to have single units. Your glucose is a single unit. You don't want to have a bunch of different things in your body. So your body all of a sudden sees these two molecules that are still stuck together, and it's like, hey, that ain't supposed to be there. It starts attacking it. So you feel run down, you feel lethargic. Your body is going into an aggressive assault on these molecules that are in your blood because they're not supposed to be there. They should never have gotten through there if you were in total gut health. So that's where the immune system is attacking it. And what happens is, it's just like anything, okay, maybe once or twice, I kind of feel bloated, blah, blah, blah. Well, sooner or later, your body's going to pick up on the gluten or whatever it is that's triggering you, and it's going to act faster and more intense, and act faster and more intense. And then all of a sudden, one day you're cramped over, and you can barely walk, or you can barely move because your reaction is so very, very intense. Now, is that gluten's fault? No. There was something else going on that gluten just happens to be the trigger. But it could, nightshades could be a trigger. There's all sorts of things. Seafood, there's all these histamine and reactionary things that could be a problem.
I asked you this question because when you answered it upstairs earlier, you said it, you explained it this well. But I have Dr. Anthony that's going to be joining us in a couple of weeks, and he
stole my thunder.
And when he
that
was
on the glucose thing, and insulin,
explaining the insulin, so I wanted you
get
the
on record.
opportunity.
Yeah, Anthony stole my insulin analogy.
So how has SymBowl changed or transformed once we identified and honed in on this food as medicine philosophy?
Okay, so Nouvelle Cuisine, we've thrown that around. We threw it around up in the interview. It's all about using very high quality product and being very direct in your cooking. So basically, use something good, don't screw it up. In the simplest of terms, you don't need to do a whole lot to a good steak. Maybe salt, maybe pepper, cook it right. But that's not just an expensive steak. It's seafood. It's a potato. It's baked potato, a little salt, butter, maybe. You don't need cheese and sour cream and bacon.
I do.
You shush. You don't actually. You don't really. You can do things that bring out natural flavor without having to do a lot to it. And that's our approach here. We tend to remove ingredients from recipes rather than adding more crap to it. I've said I'm a less is more cook. So I'll use another analogy. It's like you're running a bath and you got a hot and cold spigot. Well, you can constantly be adding more, turning up the hot water to make it hotter, or you could turn down the cold water. So you can lessen the amount of cold water coming in to make the water temperature rise. You don't always have to add more. You can sometimes get the same approach or the same effect by removing something.
Do you like the direction? Are you enjoying the direction that SymBowl has taken? And has it become easier now that we've kind of honed in on this target market?
No.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Yes, I like it. No, it's not easier. Because now we're very nuanced. Like we were saying earlier, we have shape, diet. But like at the core, like I said, all these diets at the core are very, very similar. When you start getting into the sort of outlying aspects of it, you can have this with this diet, but not with this diet, and vice versa. Paleo, larger protein sizes, more fat, less carbohydrate versus shape, which is moderate, lean protein, no oil, no sugars, a lot of low density carbohydrates. It's remembering which diet you're on for me is sometimes the challenge, or which one I'm trying to target.
I was going to say, because when you're in the kitchen, it's having to take one hat off and put another hat on and remembering that all the time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about I want to ask you this. Would you do this again?
I would have 20 deep fat fryers and a herd of cows producing milk and cheese and butter that just came raining in from the roof.
Why?
Because people want that. And why do they want it? Because salt people love salt. Your body needs salt, and it's hard to get in nature. So what do? We crave it. That way we search it out. Fat, super high energy, lots of it in a small amount. Because why? We need energy. Protein, because it has essential nutrients that we must have for reproduction and growth and repair. Sugar, super cheap and easy energy. Bodies are lazy. If they can all of a sudden get all the energy it needs by sligging down a couple Gatorades, it'll do it.
So the answer is that because it would be easier.
I want a Porsche.
But do you
actually a Range Rover?
But do you feel you're doing the thing you're supposed to?
It is. It's. I don't want to say exciting, but it's exciting. It's rewarding. It's challenging. I need somebody to come up with a more complicated diet so it can really. Yeah, we need somebody out there.
What about the FODMAP? You had the FODMAP at one time.
Okay, yeah, never mind. FODMAP's out
I was going to say, okay,
yeah.
let's limit this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the products that you have created since diving into this. And the most recent one is the SymBowl Success Meals.
So Success Meals, we basically, I don't want to say inherited, but we took it. We were offered the opportunity to kind of take over clients of another operation that was in transition. Primarily Shape Reclaim diet, or not diet, Shape Reclaim lifestyle. That was where they were having some issues getting certain quality and certain meals that were
people
up
that
to
really
standard.
understood
Yes, what it was about.
Yeah.
And we're all certified in Shape, and we know how to do it. And then we also had paleo, which is a little bit different too, and maybe not the easiest, and isn't maybe the most family friendly. You could definitely do it, but you definitely have some struggles maintaining any of these lifestyles without really doing your diligence. So SymBowl Success meals are basically designed as single portion. You buy them in packs to be able to take with you for a lunch or a dinner. At breakfast too, we haven't really touched that yet, but a way just to help people stay on the path, so their success, to help them be successful in what they're choosing to do.
What makes these prepackaged meals unique or different from other ones that you believe are out there?
They're still made by SymBowl, which means higher quality proteins. Sorry, we do use pretty much the highest quality proteins. I do them, me. I'm good at making things that probably shouldn't taste good. Shape, I think it is a great start for a lot of people, but it is challenging when you're doing, you're taking away really all those good things that people like. No oil, lower salt, no sugars. So it is sometimes challenging in making sure that, because of what we do here, we're using premium products. We're not interested in making money, but in the 6+ years, as well as I do, that anytime we've made a ingredient shift, it's always been for a more expensive product. We've never like, oh, we can save all this money. We've never done that.
It's also the first time that we've gone into calorie counting and putting all the nutritional information onto
anyone asks for macros, I might tell you.
But they're figuring out that
but
we have had.
Figure it out.
Well, no, it's not that.
Figure it out.
Because we are putting all of that information on the website so people can see it, they're able to now figure out their own macros.
Yeah,
we don't have to do it for them.
And the thing about nutritional labeling and it's just like food labeling at all, you really still need to know what you're eating. Nutritional labeling is a best guess. There's intended honesty, intended transparency. But when you're dealing with food, which has so many variables in it, it's hard to be like absolutely right, unless each and every meal was scientific. But then, of course, it would be ruined. You couldn't eat it anymore. It is very challenging to be super, super, super specific. We do absolute best we can. And that's another thing I think it makes a difference. We've been doing this for so long and been so involved with either the doctors or the patients or just people in general that we take a fair amount of ownership in making sure that, no, this is really legit. When I went through and started doing some of these meals, and even meals or the sauces and things here at the shops, when you start, like, oh, hey, look at how much of this is in it. How much of that is it? What can we do? Does it really need that much salt? Or can we put a little bit more of this in? I tweaked our green curry quite some time ago, reduced the salt, added a little bit more pepper, a little bit more lemon juice, just tweaked the ratio. So now it's a lower sodium, but the flavor intensity, the profile is all still there.
So what do you think is in the pipeline?
Pipeline would need about $1 million. That'd be great. $1 million would be primo to put forth to product development. I really still want to get a full line of sauces and condiments, things that people can use in their everyday life with the whole family, that has a more wholesome profile, like our barbecue sauce, AI barbecue sauce, autoimmune barbecue sauce. There's no reason that we have to settle for tomato paste and high fructose corn syrup in everything, or stabilizers, or guar gum, or coloring, or all of these products that we are eating were made before all of that additive crap was even existed. So why can't it still be made?
So my last question for you, what's your favorite meal? If you better not say.
Crispy Crunchy?
It was a little bit better than I thought he was going to say. That was going to be Tito's Pizza.
Totino's.
Oh, Totino's.
And that was, well, they make them square now. They're not, it should be round. They're supposed to be.
No, but truth be told, how do I eat?
If I were to go out, it'd be very simple. I really, so I do Nouvelle cuisine as far as stylistically, chaud-froid, which is hot, cold. It's also a technique of French cuisine. So you have a hot and a cold component combined. I really love that. So I would eat like a nice bloody steak and like watercress or like a bitter salad. That'd be great. I love soups and stews. I would eat, I eat pretty simple though.
And I'm going to ask one more question because I think that most don't know. What was your inspiration for this?
So Wagamama, it is a chain there now, international. There were only a couple of them, both in London where I studied abroad for a year. And it was a Japanese style noodle bar. You went down, it was near the British Museum. And you went kind of down into a basement. There were long trestle tables. We kind of somewhat have those in the shops. But you would go and they would come over and each little spot had a number, and numbered position 5 or whatever you order, and the food came out when it came out. There was no waiting for the whole group. And if what you thought was an appetizer took a little bit longer than your main, well, it came after. They did it, as soon as that food, whatever dish it was or whatever it was you ordered, it came out. It was very fresh, very light, very direct. And it was good. You went there all the time.
I think that was one of your biggest compliments.
I loved her.
Early on when we first opened up, I think it was in our first year.
She was from Boston.
There was a woman from Boston came in.
There's one in Cambridge.
And she sat in the lobby and she said, "This reminds me of a place I ate at." And she said, "Wagamama's." And it was like,
yeah, that was good.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of Functional Friday. It's a little bit of a twist from what we normally are doing, but we feel like sometimes you kind of need to get to the heart and the soul.
Sometimes twice.
Of who SymBowl is and kind of what makes us unique.
And I got pissy and I wanted to be on one. Finally.
But it's also why we say that if food is your medicine, SymBowl is your pharmacy. And you're probably the lead
tagline now?
Pharmacist. You're the one mixing all the stuff in the back. Okay.
All right,
so we're signing off. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.